A lot of language teachers preach about the power of comprehensible input. But what if understanding everything you're listening to is actually working against you? There's such a thing as understanding too much. And if your content is constantly above that line, your progress slows to a crawl without you even realizing it. In this video, I'll show you exactly where the sweet spot is and how you can stay in it. So to understand this idea, all you really need to do is appreciate that context is your best friend when you're learning a language. The reason being, your brain is incredibly good at making connections and filling in gaps based on what it already knows. You do this all the time in English without even realizing it. It's the reason why if a frustrated friend texts you, "What the duck?" you know they're not talking about the bird. Your brain reads the room and fills in the gaps. The same mechanism works in a language you're learning. When you're listening to something and you understand most of it, but not all of it, your brain doesn't just give up on the parts it doesn't recognize. It uses everything around those gaps to make its best guess. And in doing that, it's actively building new connections that turn unfamiliar words into familiar ones. That's acquisition happening in real time. Your brain learning through context rather than through memorization. So here's the rule. When you're picking content to listen to or read, aim for material where you understand roughly 80% of it. Not 50%, not 95%, around 80. Don't stress about tracking this precisely. Nobody expects you to count words. Just understand why you're doing it and you'll be fine. You want content where you mostly understand what's going on, but there's still room to grow. Challenging enough to keep your brain working, but understandable enough that the context can do its job. Let me show you exactly what I mean, because this is one of those things that it's much clearer when you see it in action. I want to try something. I'm going to show you 3 short paragraphs. Each one mixes English with a different language. Your only job is to see how much of the non-English parts you can figure out just from context. Don't overthink it, just see what happens. Part 1, 50% understandable. Yesterday, I walked zum Laden und kaufte einige frische Beeren, carrots and honey. Die Sonne scheint, aber der Himmel war grau. Later, I sat mit Bekannten im Lokal, and we talked about life and our plans for the weekend. Half English, half German. How much were you able to piece together? Probably not much, and that's the point. When half the sentence is already missing, there isn't enough context for your brain to fill in the rest reliably. You're either guessing blindly or working really hard to keep up. That gets exhausting fast. Paragraph 2, 95% understandable. I spent almost the entire day exploring the city, walking through famous streets, visiting museos, and other culturally significant hotspots. I also hablé with some nice locals who shared their stories. By the end, it was a great adventure. Almost entirely English, just 2 Spanish words. You probably got both of them easily. But that's exactly the problem. 2 words from an entire paragraph. Not very efficient from a learning standpoint. Paragraph 3, 80% understandable. Tonight, we went out to eat at the Nuovo Ristorante Italiano, and it was very easy to get to since it's located right in the centro della città. Dopo dinner, we went to a gelateria to get some ice cream. Now we're in the zone. The English carries the story, but there's enough Italian that your brain actually has to work. And because you know what's going on, context kicks in. You probably got most of those Italian words, even if you've never studied the language. 8 Italian words versus 2 Spanish words. 4 times more new language without working 4 times as hard. That's the 80% rule in action. 39 words across 3 paragraphs, completely different learning experience. Now, why don't the extremes work? Why not less than 80%? You might think that the less I understand, the more I have to learn, so why not just push myself harder? The problem is that when comprehension drops significantly below 80%, context collapses. So instead of your brain intuitively filling in the gaps, it's just staring at them. You can't infer meaning from surrounding words if those words are also unfamiliar. And beyond just inefficient, it's genuinely discouraging. It's very easy to lose focus, tune out, or just feel like you're not cut out for this when really the content is just at the wrong level. Now, why not more than 80%? Here's a quick way to think about it. If you watch a 10-minute video and you understand 80% of it, that means you had 2 full minutes of exposure to new language. If you understand 90% of the same video, there's only 1 minute of exposure. You've literally cut your learning potential in half without changing anything about how long you practiced. And beyond just the math, when you understand almost everything, your brain stops building its ability to infer. That pattern recognition muscle, that becomes increasingly important as you get more advanced. You want to keep that muscle working. So, how do you actually find and stay in that zone? Honestly, it's more intuitive than it sounds. After a little experience, you start to get the feel for it. When content is too hard, you know it because you're tuning out and nothing is landing. The video ends and you realize you have no idea what it was even about. Settling for content that's too easy is the one that you have to stay on top of because there's no friction at all, no obvious problem pushing you to change strategy. The practical approach is to just pay attention to how you feel while you're listening. Are you following the general idea even though you're missing specific words? Good, you're probably close to that 80% zone. Are you lost on the overall message and not connecting anything to meaning? Time to find something a little more accessible. Are you understanding literally everything with zero challenge? Time to level up. And something worth remembering, the zone moves with you. As your level improves, what used to be too hard will become your new 80%. The content that's right for you today might not be right for you in 3 months. That's not a problem, that's the whole point. The 80% rule isn't something you need to obsess over. It's a framework to help you make more strategic decisions about the content you spend your time with. And when you combine it with interesting, authentic content, which we cover in other videos on this channel, it becomes one of the most reliable ways to make sure that the time that you put into listening is actually moving you forward. Subscribe and stick around step by step, at your own pace, no textbooks, no stress.